Welcome back to the NASCAR Winston Cup Series 2002 season as we're here for race number 14 of 32. It's the World 600 at the Lowe Motor Speedway, one of the most prestigious races on the Winston Cup Series calendar, and we'll see which of the 42 drivers in the field tonight can claim victory in the longest Winston Cup Series race of the season. I'm Joe Ricuzzi. Alongside me, it is Trey Bardo. Trey, you've won many of these World 600 races, but this racetrack as a whole is one of the most physically demanding tracks on the circuit, and on top of that, it is also a mentally demanding race with how long this race is, 80 laps in length. So Trey, is this a race that separates the men from the boys?
Oh, 100%. I mean, like you said, it's very demanding. And also, I mean, if you look at it, Joe, it might not look like it, but 1 and 2 are totally different from 3 and 4. So the first driver to figure out how to drive both ends of this track, as well as keeping themselves out of trouble like we saw last season, I think they'll be the ones contending for the win of this thing. But again, you have to get to the end of it to even be considered for it.
And watch out for the how bumpy this racetrack is. It's very similar to the Texas Motor Speedway that we saw last race out. Texas, though, is a newer racetrack than Lowe's. However, the tracks are very similar. They are the same length, 1.5 miles. They are the same quad-shaped oval racetrack. They have the same banking in the turns. They have the same banking on the straights. They have the same length straightaways, the same length turns, all this stuff like that. So Trey, the drivers that are good at Texas, even though this track is a lot older than the track we see at Texas, the drivers that were good at Texas last race, like the Roush guys or Mathis Wells in the Joe Gibbs car, and the guys that struggled, like the RCR guys or some of the DEI guys, could they be kind of in the same boat here at Lowe's, or is it something completely different because of how old this racetrack is?
I honestly think it'll be a 50-50 scenario there. I mean, the ones that struggle could definitely learn something from Texas and put it into play here. As you can see from the 30 starting up front, like we barely saw him anytime at Texas, right? But and those guys that did really well, they could honestly have a cakewalk today. As you see on the pole, we have a Roush guy right behind him. We have his teammate, and we see Richardson not too far back from him as well. So I honestly think it'll be a 50-50 scenario, and we could see both ends of that here tonight.
All right, Trey, now, before we get to the race itself, it is a very long race. Maybe if we start talking about the news during the week now, we'll get done by the checkered flag. So, to kick off things, let's go in chronological order of how the news came out this week. At Texas, Lathan Strickland suffered a severe crash on the back straightaway. Doctors diagnosed him with concussion-like symptoms. He'll be sitting out for at least the next 2 or 3 races, which means driving that number 15 for those races is Sarah Kirchner from Chip Ganassi Racing. That is the first move. And now, since Kirchner has moved over to the 15, someone has to drive the 40 car. And shockingly, it's the guy Chip Ganassi Racing fired after race 3 of the season, Logan Williams. Trey, your thoughts on that?
How much time do we have again?
We don't have too much time, but...
All right, well, let's start with the Kirchner thing, right? First off, I just want to say we hope Lathan Strickland has a fast and speedy recovery. It sucks not to see him in this field, and we're all thinking of him. We know he's watching on his couch, or actually, I lied. He's in my theater right now watching at my place.
He's on your couch.
Yeah, he's on my couch. But did you also get really confused seeing this move?
So I figured I heard the name Williams being thrown around, and I figured the most sensible thing would have been just put Logan Williams in the 15 car.
Right. Not a Dodge driver. Not a driver on another team that's been that team's best driver. Not someone who is already a full-time driver. According to the DEI owner, he didn't even know Sarah Kirchner was a full-time driver and thought she was a free agent, let alone driving for a Dodge. And does that make any sense to you?
Well, I was also going to say, it has to be very, very awkward in the Chip Ganassi Racing camp this week, because you have Logan Williams coming back. Williams got fired by the team owner, who then says, can you please come back and drive for us because we need you? How awkward do you think that is for Chip Ganassi Racing and Logan Williams to basically be teaming up like this again, even though it seemed like they didn't want to be teamed up after 3 races into the season?
Oh, it must have been a big paycheck that he was getting. Because if I was Williams, unless it looked like a really pretty penny, I don't think I would have been coming back to a team that clearly didn't want anything to do with me.
And then, moving on, some more sensible type news, I guess. Haas Carter Motorsports announced that they will be dropping down to a single car organization for the 2003 season, rebranded to the number 54 Ford. They're dropping both drivers, Samet Ozgen and Nathan Orman, this season. In fact, it seems like both drivers are probably happy about that, considering how they've been ranting on the radio about their team's performances over this season. Their new driver will be Jack Carter, who drives for the Wood brothers in the number 21. So, Trey, your thoughts on that move for Jack Carter and Haas Carter Motorsports as a whole?
I mean, that one makes a lot more sense. You know, they haven't really been upfront per se, right? Where they should be driving, in my opinion. So I think dropping down to a one-car team allows them to, you know, kind of sit back, reset, and look at things from a different standpoint, and hopefully, you know, restart that organization to where it should be right now. And honestly, it could help them become a top-tier team here if they run everything right.
And they'll be rebranding to Bell Carter Motorsports for the 2003 season with some more sponsorships. So possibly that sponsorship money can help them expand, as you mentioned, and get them into a better spot to contend for wins and top 5s and top 10s, to be a weekly contender and not someone where you see them up front and you're like, wow, what a really, really good day for them. Then, moving on for the last bit of news during the week, something that maybe I can't talk too much on as a Dodge owner myself, but Morgan McClure Motorsports has been bought out by Chip Ganassi Racing, effective immediately. It seemed like at first the talks were going to be for this to happen in the offseason, but accelerated into the week after Texas. So now Chip Ganassi Racing has Logan Williams back in. They've given Sarah Kirchner to DEI. All while doing this, they have now basically enveloped with Morgan McClure Motorsports. They've now added 2 cars to their fleet. The 4 and the 71 are now both Chip Ganassi Racing Dodges. So they've expanded 2 cars. So they doubled their organization in 1 week. And I know that they've gotten all the people from Morgan McClure to work on it, but those people were working on Chevrolets. Now they're working on Dodges. You have to get, you know, new Dodge cars because they probably didn't have enough cars for everyone. So there's been a whole mess in terms of the Dodge manufacturer stuff this week. And Trey, it cannot be good for an organization like Chip Ganassi Racing to get 2 more cars and have them ready to go in the span of a week.
This is when I sit back at times and I just look at everything and I go, what was going through their head? Because, first off, they were struggling with, what was it, 2 cars originally, right?
Yep.
Absolutely struggling with them. So I don't understand what made them think that adding 2 more cars to their roster, especially ones that were once Chevrolets, better. I don't know how Dodge feels about it, let alone how they feel about, like I said, one of their best driver and Sarah Kirchner going to a rival organization. And did I mention that it's not even a Dodge?
Yeah, DEI does.
I feel like I feel like we've seen this before, have we not? This season, was it not? With the same team, was it not?
Yeah, I mean, think about Riverside, where there was a lot of stuff happening with, you know, one driver going from Jasper to Chip Ganassi Racing, and then one driver.
How'd that work out?
He's not in the series anymore, so I don't.
So you would think that they would learn from their first mistake, right?
I don't know, Trey.
Well, apparently they haven't, Joe. So again, I don't know how well Dodge took that over. I don't know how well it's Chevy, right? Chevy, yeah. I think they switched to, which again doesn't make any sense considering that Chevy just switched over to a Dodge team, but Dodge let a Dodge driver to go to a Chevy team for. Anyways, right? It makes no sense. And again, I don't know how CGR is going to be able to handle adding, literally, like you said, doubling their roster in a span of not even a week. They weren't even ready for it. I again, like I said, I look at things and it genuinely makes no sense to me whatsoever. Even the guys at the DEI were confused by the move. They didn't know what to say about it.
I think like Eli and Anthony were like, oh, okay.
Oh, I guess she's our teammate now for a couple of races, and everyone at CGR was like, I don't think anyone at CGR is happy with their owner right now. They all seem to be very on the opposite end of this whole situation.
Well, Trey, we're running out of time in our pre-race show, so let's get to our Ford Fast Facts so that we can actually make some sort of sponsor happy here tonight at the Lowe Motor Speedway. It's a cloudy night here at Concord, North Carolina. 73 degrees, so a pretty decent night in terms of air temperature. Only 1 mile 1 mile an hour wind in the north direction. This race is 80 laps in length, the longest of the season, 120 miles. The fuel window is 28 to 33 laps. So these drivers will have to make 2 pit stops during the race, at least 2 pit stops. We'll see if they come under the caution flag or under the green flag. And then some track facts, 1.5 miles in length, just like Texas. The banking 24 degrees in the corners and 5 degrees on the straightaways. But unlike Texas, this is an old racetrack. Opened in 1960, held its first race in the Winston Cup Series here in 1981, and as for some facts in terms of Ford itself, they have 3 World 600 wins in 21 seasons of competition, and the last Ford win in the World 600, Trey, all the way back in 1990, that was Jim Gambit and the number 6 Roush Racing Ford. So do you think that maybe a Ford team like Roush or Penske can get it done for them and break that winless streak in the World 600?
Well, with how Roush has been doing so far this season, I can definitely say that they have a pretty high chance of pulling this thing off. And I even see one of the Penske guys starting up front inside the top 10 here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the number 2 or the 12 in victory round either. So we'll just have to see if they can survive the carnage. And hopefully, Joe, we don't repeat what we did last year.
Hopefully not. 6 cautions in this race last season. It was the longest World 600 ever, longest Winston Cup Series race ever. We'll see if we can make this one a little bit shorter in the 2002 season. It's about time to get underway. Let's go down trackside for the command to fire the engines up in the World 600.
Drivers, start your engines!
42 engines come to life here in Concord, North Carolina, do battle in the longest race of the season. Starting in 4th place is the winner of this race last season, Mathis Wells. He dueled out with Keegan Thompson all the way to the end of it. Mathis came out on top, and Trey's looking to do it again for his first win of the season.
Yeah, we can. I think we can definitely expect this 20 to stay up front, or at least near the front this entire thing. They've slowly gotten better and better this season as it's gone along. So I think it's only a matter of time until that 20 gets in victory lane.
And then a few rows behind him is the number 25 of Brett Sierra. Hendrick Motorsports has not yet won this season. However, Brett Sierra won this race 2 seasons ago in a 3/1000th photo of a finish by beating you, Trey. So Brett Sierra, can he possibly find that Lowe's North Carolina magic like he did in 2000, break Hendrick's winless drought and get his first victory of the season?
Definitely. I think this is the closest majority of the Hendrick guys have qualified up front so far this season, minus the 24 of Zidell, who struggled. But I definitely think this is starting to look like an upside to Hendrick as a whole.
Well, the last 8 World 600s have been won by only 3 organizations: Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing, and Richard Childress Racing. We'll see if one of those 3 can continue that, or will someone else break it. On the front row, Zachary DeLello and Evan Hunter. Roush Racing and MB2 Motorsports are the front row for the 2002 World 600. Last season was the longest in history. We'll see if we can make this one shorter. Green flag in the air. Well, with how they're racing down the back straightaway for 3rd place, it might not be any shorter. 3 wide for 3rd place. Fitzwater to the inside. Wells in the middle. Hunter up top is falling back. The front 2 Roush cars get away. Now Atkins is middle of 3 with Hunter up top. They keep it clean at the front of the field. And DeLello from pole leads the first time. Bernez teammate in 2nd place, right on his bumper to turn 1.
Yeah, going in the 1 and 2 there. I don't think Wells meant to get underneath. He's into the wall. I don't know if he touched it. Oh, contact.
And that's with the points leader right in the middle. Now, Richardson has a 180-point gap over 2nd place Conrad Evans, so he can afford to have a bad finish here tonight and still have the points lead. But he obviously wants to extend that points gap because Evans' failed inspection starts at the back of the field, and right now, Richardson had to get out of that. Now, Sarah Kirchner's in the middle in that number 15. Down low, here comes Stout in the number 6, Collins in the 12. And remember, Trey, this is a Winston Noble 5 race, so add on the prestige to this even more because someone could walk off $1 million if they win it and they're in the Winston Noble 5.
So who are the 5?
So we have Jay Reno here in the number 48. He's racing well up inside the top 5. Eli Bright right behind him. Then you have Jordan Stout, the number 6. You have the 18 of Jericho, the 29 of Kukulon, and the 31 of Conrad Evans.
These guys are starting to scare me, but yeah, it would be something if you could win both, the 600 as well as how much is it again? How much money?
$1 million for you, and $1 million for a fan, and $1 million for your team. There's a lot of $1 million that could go around here tonight.
That's a lot of $1 million, but yeah, if these guys keep risking it like they're doing right now, they might want to be careful. But as I was saying, I don't think Wells meant to get underneath Hunter.
Yeah,
it just kind of happened.
Yeah, I think he just rolled the corner much better, and Evan Hunter did not roll the corner as well as Hunter thought he was. Here's Centurions going at it.
Hunter fell completely back. Joe, remember the last time these two were about right
here? Yeah, they were in the inside wall somehow under caution, but
they almost took out Jeffrey, the pace car driver, too.
Yeah, that would have been bad, but luckily everything was just fine. And Anthony Hernandez actually has a nice run onto Zachary Fitzwater Sr. He had mentioned, Trey, that he was going to join Fitzwater at the front of the field, and he's done it.
Yeah, that didn't take very long now, did it?
No,
he actually passed Fitzwater.
Yeah, he did. There's a man who really needs some momentum back. Sebastian Kugelheim, remember, was leading points and looking like the championship favorite just about 2 or 3 races ago. And now he's dropped down out of contention, basically out of range of Keyshawn Richardson. Really needs to gain some points back, and right now doing it, one of our Noble 5 drivers moving for 5th place in Anthony Hernandez, as Hernandez tries to keep his streak of top 10s alive. 8 straight races, Hernandez has finished inside the top 10.
Well, you remember what caused the downfall of this 29, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it caused it directly, but it probably didn't help. And I think he's still kind of struggling with it. So this 29 definitely needs to find some sort of grip again. It looks like he has a very strong car at the beginning of this thing so far, so we'll have to see what he can do with it. As Wells looks like he's trying to make a move on Sierra here, but couldn't quite get there just yet.
The Roush guys have stayed content. DeLello's been leading with Burnett on his back bumper this whole time, and Burnett has not really made a move on DeLello. As right here, Mathis Wells makes a move. Sierra tried to protect but can't, and Mathis Wells goes for 3rd, and these 4 really pulled away, but if they keep down like this, 5th place Kugelheim will make it a 5-car race for the lead. DeLello still leads off 2. Now Burnett in 2nd, Wells up to 3rd, Sierra back to 4th, but still in line and hanging tough with the front 3.
I thought Wells was going to get 2 spots and win 1 chance there, because I thought Sierra was going to try to get to the inside of Burnett as well, but Sierra didn't have quite a big as run as Wells did, or honestly, Wells might have just caught him off guard completely there. But, I mean, so far, we're still kind of, trying to figure out who has the best long-run car, and it definitely looks like this 20 has something going for it on the middle run at least. And we'll have to see if it can continue, or the 17 just had a really bad corner because he's about to lose 3 spots.
Yeah. Wells went by him, Sierra's by him, and now here comes Sebastian Kugelheim to make it a 5-car race. Kugelheim to the inside, he'll grab 4th, and Burnett from 2nd place in 1 lap all the way down to 5th place. Now, can Mathis Wells be the first driver to challenge Zachary DeLello for the lead here tonight? We're going to find out. He is gaining visually on that number 97 into turn 1. We're 9 laps complete in the World 600. DeLello's led all of them, but he might not lead this next one. Mathis Wells is hunting him off turn number 2, Trey.
Thought Wells was about to roll a corner like he did on Hunter, but I think the 97 saw that coming. He kind of blocked him off there. He's going to get a run going off of 4 here, though, but it's going to be kind of hard with Brett Sierra on his tail. He's looking low, nothing quite yet. He's going to get him through the tri-oval if he can here. Kugelheim's actually going to take the spot away from Sierra, and it's still nothing for the lead.
And then as these 5 try to pull away, Lathan Strickland is gaining in 6th place. Jordan Stout is 7th. Atkins is 8th. Collins is 9th. Eli Bright back up to 10th in the number 8 car. We actually have Jordan Edwards in the 83 just behind Eli Bright. So that Fitz Bradshaw Racing team, which has not had much success this season, bar winning the Daytona 500, which is the biggest race of the season most likely. But they haven't really had that consistent stretch of races. And here they are training another big race, running inside the top 12 and trying to get up there and join these big forces at the front of the field.
Yo, I thought I was going to make the mistake first this race. Who's in the 15 again?
Sarah Kirchner.
You said
Yeah,
Lathan.
Well,
I didn't want to interrupt you halfway through your spiel there, but yeah, it's Sarah Kirchner. I mean, even though there's controversy behind her part-time ride,
yeah.
I guess you could say she's making it worth it at least.
She is. She's moving big. As you can see right here, most of the field is actually single file. In fact, Kirchner just made a big move there into turn 1 on Matthew Burnett going into turn number 1, and she's trying to make it stick on the bottom. The front 3 have pulled away. Burnett again just cannot get through 1 and 2 when he's under attack.
Yeah, I don't think his car likes that top side because it just seems like he gets really tight. He has to hit the brake or let off, and it just kills his run immediately. And these guys are battling for 2nd, and yet no one can get past this 97, Joe.
Yeah, I thought that maybe when Wells got up to 2nd place, he'd be the one to do it, and I thought, well, maybe Kugelheim can because he looks pretty fast, but no one has been able to do it, and they keep battling for 2nd, which, DeLello's pulling away now. Again, he has about 2/10 back, and here comes Kirchner to make a 3-car race for 2nd place, and behind them here comes Jordan Stout, one of the Noble 5 drivers, trying to move his way up to the front as Kirchner clears in 3rd place. Can she try and help Wells to get up to the race leader? Maybe not, because Wells goes up the track at 3 and 4, and here comes Sarah Kirchner looking low in that number 15, but can't make it stick, but now looking through the quad oval to make it stick on the bottom.
The only one enjoying this and not ruining their stuff right now is that 97 because he does not have to push his car whatsoever.
No, he's had to push maybe a lap or two when he had the 20 or the 29 right on his back bumper, but otherwise he's been pretty much probably coasting out there on a Sunday drive.
Well, Joe's third car is the third car the charm to get past this Roush car?
We'll have to see if Sarah Kirchner can get it done in that, those few races for the number 15. Jeff wants to make the most of it. Right now, doing just that in second place. But once again, it's a long one. We're only 15 laps in of 80 here tonight in the World 600. So it's stayed caution-free so far, but it's still taking a while even without any cautions.
Oh, Jay, you trying to jinx it?
No, I'm just saying. We've done a lot better than we did last season up to this point.
So with it being two, these guys got to pit twice. What? That's lap. I don't know, what would that be?
It could be lap 30, lap 60 about.
Good give or take there?
Yeah,
okay.
Give or take a few.
I'm just never the best, but we have another pass for second here, Joe. And this isn't something that's surprised us at the moment. But look who's the next two cars behind these guys.
How about Mitchell Collins in that number 12 moving up nicely? Penske Racing had a pretty good day with Fitzwater in qualifying, and now Collins doing a good job in the race, but Kukulon looks to his inside to try and get a pass made, and will do just that through turns 3 and 4. Brett Sierra trying to gain back in that number 25 as Mathis Wells is clear in second. He'll try and be the one to run down Zachary DeLello, or maybe it could be Jordan Stout. We had the Roush Racing guys, as you mentioned, 3 of them started inside the top 10. DeLello on poles at every lap as the yellow is out for the first time. And where was it? I don't know.
I thought I saw dirt being kicked up here, but maybe it was a quick spin and then they fixed it.
Mathis Wells for the lead, racing back around to the caution flag.
Maybe that's all it took.
Yes, hearing the word caution. Wells got back in front. Stout tried his best, though.
Yeah, he definitely did. And, well, this will be an interesting restart here with the Wells finally getting out front. But, yeah, I'm curious to hear what the caution was for. We'll have to see if cameras picked up anything because I didn't see any smoke or even tire tracks on the grass.
Well, you will have to
on the pavement.
You will have to think here, Trey. We are coming around to complete the 19th lap.
Strategy?
With the fuel into where it is, you would have to think these drivers are coming down pit road here.
Yeah, there's a couple of cars in. Joe, is this the same thing we saw at Texas?
I think it might be. Look at that. I think Stout's going to have the lead.
Well, I mean, it worked out for who did it last? Who did it?
I think it was Fitzwater last week. Was it
Fitzwater?
Someone.
I don't remember.
Trey,
but it worked out for them.
To remember anything.
Well, Joe is was it Jack Haas saying that he's kind of scared of pit road?
He's scared of pit road because he's been involved in everything on pit road. But also last season we did see some contact on this pit road. We saw, I think it was Brett Sierra get hit by Ryan Wilson. Then later in the race, Brett Sierra hit another petty car. It was the number 44 of Oskin. So watch out on pit road. Looks like a wide pit road, but you can still really make some contact with some different strategies here.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how that works out, doesn't it? Seems like most of the guys are taking right sides. Are going to be going all four? Yeah, so they're taking all 4 already, which is, as a crew chief, I might be a little nervous seeing that considering you're only 20 laps into a run, but Sarah Kirchner. Is that Sarah Kirchner?
That was Sarah Kirchner leaving first. The 6 had a little bit of a slower stop, and the 15 got right out in front.
I think the 97 had a really slow stop. I think he got out quite a bit ways back. I couldn't tell. Yeah. Looks like he lost a spot or two, if anything. And Eli Bright gained a couple as well, but DEI's, well, is it? DEI/CGR's Sarah Kirchner is going to take the lead.
Yeah, Sarah Kirchner is now out in front here at Lowe. So go check out what happened. It is the first caution flag of the night here in the World 600, just around lap 20. Well, Trey, caution for debris. One of these cars in this long line is going to lose something off of it. Nothing major, but Keyshawn Richardson hits it.
Right there. And, well, hopefully, Joe, that didn't do anything to the car.
Yeah, the points leader hit some debris out there. Hopefully the car looked fine on pit road. Doesn't look like they were doing anything major, but Kevin Band, the pace car driver, came out to his first action of the night here in the World 600. And for Sarah Kirchner, she may have came into pit road not in the lead, but she left in the race lead. We'll see if she can hold it in the number 15 Budweiser Chevrolet for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. Our first restart of the night will take place on lap number 23 with Sarah Kirchner in control for the restart. Mathis Wells will be in second, Jordan Stout in third. We have Sebastian Kukulon fourth, and Zachary DeLello, who's led the most laps up to this point, back in 5th place. Eli Bright is now 6th. Matthew Burnett is 7th, Justin Atkins in 8th, Tim Gary up to 9th, and 10th place with number 25 of Brett Sierra. Justin Zaidel, what a great recovery for him. He was all the way at the back of the field. He's up to 11th. Conrad Evans failed inspection after qualifying. He's now in 12th. Anthony Nez is 13th, Mitchell Collins 14th, and Noah Clifton is 15th. Jericho's also at the back of the field to start. He's in 16th. 17th place to Nolan Lawrence. Luke Rennie also at the back of the field for the start. 18th. 19th to Laura Chung, and 20th place for number 26 of Samet Oskin. There's Keyshawn Richardson. I think they took some time on pit road to look at that car. He'll restart back outside the top 20 and 21st. Fitzwater starts at the front. He's all the way back here outside the top 20. As we go further through the field, there's Keegan Thompson back here. You have the 36 of Evan Hunter, who started on the outside of the front row. He's back outside of the top 20. We look back, Jay Randall has fallen back on those pit stops with number 48 as well. We have Jordan Edwards coming off pit road now. They had to repair that car tray because that is where the debris came from, that number 83, so they've lost 2 laps on pit road.
Yeah, that's a bad break for him, but Joe, we're going back green here, and how's this replay going to start out? Restart going to start out.
Well, we're going to have to see if Sarah Kirchner, it's her first time at the front of the field in one of these Winston Cup cars. What can she do? Mathis Wells was not sleeping on that one.
Yeah, it seemed like he really wanted to get his spot back.
But we're going to be 3
I think
wide
he
for...
feels a little cheated.
Yeah, I think he does. He's like, listen, I should have been leading into pit road. What the heck happened there? But he's going to lose a few spots because Kukulon made a big run in here. He comes to the inside. The drivers dominate the first half of this race. DeLello's coming back, pushing Kukulon to the inside.
Is he going to make it 3 wide on the bottom? Kukulon's going to defend it, though. I think this might be his lap to lead, but not for much longer.
No, because here comes DeLello. Kukulon will lead that one, but here comes Zachary DeLello down to the inside to turn number 1. They're 2 by 2 at the front of the field, and now the pole sitter in the dominant car is back out in front, but watch for Eli Bright in that very patriotic Budweiser Chevrolet coming to the inside and going for the lead himself.
Is that an American flag on his spoiler?
It is. Spoiler alert, there's an American flag on that spoiler.
Oh. That was a bad pun.
That was very bad. But
I like that the designer incorporated something onto the spoiler, which is just normally a flat color.
Yeah, normally, you know.
It's different.
As you see on Burnett's all black or on Atkins all blue, but then we have the red, white, and blue on that number 8.
I like that. It's different. Good job to him. I hope he got a pay raise for that.
Then we have Tim Gary in that number 10. He's moving up nicely. So he was the lower starting MB2 car. But now with all the the start drama with Evan Hunter, Tim Gary's now the highest running MB2 car in 3rd place. That team looking for their first victory this season. And right behind him, a man not too popular with the garage, Conrad Evans, is up to now 4th place after failing inspection and starting all the way at the back of the field.
Did you see the amount of cheers that came out whenever he failed inspection?
Yeah, I saw a lot of happy people here at the racetrack, whether it be either in the garage or just talking to fans outside of the racetrack.
I heard from his owner, the owner of RCR, that Evans was put in charge of his own car this weekend, and it didn't pass inspection. So that kind of makes you wonder what he was trying to do.
Well, he will have to work on his own car whenever he gets a 50-point penalty because he ran someone under caution leaving pit road at Texas.
Yeah, that's fair. Hopefully he's learned from that lesson and can recover from it.
Hopefully Fitzwater is never near him on the racetrack, though, because otherwise some bad things might arise for that number 31.
He was not very happy with it in the interview.
I'm sure Atkins is loving this battle right now as he has Matthew Burnett that he's battling with the lead with, and he has to love that he was able to be raced off turn 4 cleanly without getting put into the wall.
That's a first.
Yeah, at this racetrack, yes, for sure.
It also helps that it wasn't a teammate.
It was not a teammate. It's now Mitchell Collins up to 2nd place. So how about Penske Trey? Collins running well and now gunning for the lead into turn 3 right here.
Well, Joe, we talked about it in the pre-race. We said which Ford team might be able to put their guy in victory lane, and well, the top 2 are out front right now battling for this lead.
Yeah, the Ford has to love that. The Blue Oval side by side for the lead down into turn number 1. Fast speeds here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. Mitchell Collins takes the lead away. He clears Matthew Burnett, who gets tight once again. Has to lift and loses many spots off turn number 2. Eli Bright moves to 2nd. Tim Gary moving for 3rd, and Luke Rainey, who started way at the back of the field. In fact, he started 42nd, Trey. Luke Rainey inside the top 5. The man who started just a few spots in front of him in, I think it was, 39th place. Here comes Chris Jericho on the 18, last season's champion, trying to get something out of what was a poor qualifying result.
So don't you love just seeing all the schemes this time of a year? I thought that was 4. They got to be careful. I thought that was going to be something.
Yeah, I love seeing all these red, white, and blue schemes. Unfortunately, it's a solemn holiday. We have to be celebrating Memorial Day. But once again, these teams really love to pull out these American patriotic paint schemes just to show love for all of the service men and women and their families who have unfortunately lost their lives in combat.
Yeah, 100%. And any little thing that we can do as a sport, really helps them out. And I think, giving out these special paint schemes once a season really does kind of, I guess you could say, lighten the mood around this. And it's always fun to see what they can come up with.
And a lot of teams like to invite also families of those that have lost their lives in combat. So it's a nice gesture by everyone here at NASCAR that just tries to make this holiday a little bit more of a celebration rather than something so solemn.
Yeah, 100%. And these guys always put on a good show, as well as they can, at least. And so far, considering that all the cars are still back out on the track, it's going pretty good so far.
Yeah, we're nearly halfway in, and we have no cars with major damage. Obviously, Edwards has some stuff that obviously fell off the car, but they've repaired it while he's back out there and he's running well. Here's about for third, Jericho, the highest of the Noble 5 drivers, up to now third place, going to push from Atkins and DeLello, moving by Luke Rainey in the number 88. At the front, it's Mitchell Collins and Eli Bright, first and second, and the rest of the field is trying to chase him down. How about back here, Trey? Jacob Miller for CLR Racing is moving up to 11th place now.
He's been doing it pretty quietly.
Yes, he has.
That's a pretty hard car to miss, too, with all the bright colors on it.
It is, and unfortunately, you normally see that car towards the back of the field. Obviously, it's the first season for the single-car team. They don't have the funding of the powerhouses, but here they are, a track where, everything matters. Power, handling, downforce, you name it. Whatever you have on the race car, it matters here at the Lowesmore Speedway, and they are chasing down. The CLR Racing team is chasing down a top 10 spot. Just in front of them, Sarah Kircher for DEI.
Yeah, I don't know what they did under this caution, but the car is absolutely loving right now, and I think the driver is even loving it more because he's on the move right now. Hasn't been able to pass the 15 quite yet, but definitely in the hunt to do so as Jericho's making a move on Eli Bright on the bottom. That's a picture right there for you. Two friends right there battling it out in nice schemes, and here's one of Eli's other friends coming up.
Justin Atkins in the number 30. They've had some run-ins over the past year. Fortunately, this year they haven't really had anything, and they've been racing each other with a lot more respect. But just like we mentioned, basically every race last season, they always find a way near each other on these racetracks.
It's weird how that happens, isn't it?
It is.
It seems like no matter what track it is, at some point in the race, they're right next to each other. And luckily, this time, they gave each other plenty of room.
Well, it's a lot better than seeing Eli and Evans next to each other because I don't think that would be as friendly of a battle.
I don't know where Evans even went.
Yeah, he's disappeared.
Disappeared.
Played a magic trick.
Yeah. I think I don't think a lot of people are too upset about that.
Well, Jacob Miller is not upset with his race car tray. He got by Kirchner. He got by DeLello. Now he's gone by Anthony Hernandez. He's passed 2 DI cars and a Roush car in the last lap. He's up to 8th place. And how about Jose Mills for Ultra Motorsports, also up inside the top 10 to 9th. What a great run for these smaller teams.
I was going to say, I think the 7's just kind of following the hole. This 57's leaving, and I mean, if he's got the car to do it, he might as well, huh? Let the 57 do all the work, and you just take advantage of anything that's left over.
And now Miller's gaining on a Hendrick car and a DEI car.
I don't know what this 57 has underneath its hood right now, but they need to do it every week.
I love seeing this trade. This is amazing to see one of these smaller teams just... And these are big-name teams. This is not just like, oh, he's battling some mid-pack teams. He's battling Hendrick. He's battling DEI, Roush. He might be battling a Joe Gibbs car here soon.
If he keeps it up, he might be away from everyone else if he gets up to his lead right now. But this 12, Joe, this Penske is holding off Jericho pretty well.
Yeah, Mitchell Collins doing a great job out in front. We're all, fawning over Jacob Miller back there, but Mitchell Collins doing a great job as well in a car that this season has not been up to the ranking of Joe Gibbs or Richard Childress Racing or Roush Racing, but he's doing a great job holding them off. Now Atkins got a great run on Jericho through 1 and 2. I think Jericho got a little tight on the bottom of 1 and 2, and Atkins makes the pass off 4 here. He's ahead, trying to clear Jericho. Now Luke Rainey and Jordan Stout filter to the inside. Stout's going to take it 3 into turn number 1.
That was a sketchy move, but he might have made it work. I couldn't tell if he was washing up the track or not.
Well, Jericho drove it in deep there, Trey.
It worked. Well, I mean, last time he got pretty tight, so I think he just kind of gave up. And, Joe, do you see what I'm seeing right now?
I'm seeing a CLR racing car passing a Hendrick Motorsports car for position on the same tires. No strategy involved here.
This is incredible. He's absolutely slicing through the field right now.
Would this top what Roberto Crown Jr. did here last season? Obviously, it was the 500-mile race he won last season. He's unfortunately not in in this race today because he failed inspection, even though he had qualified on speed. But with this top, what Roberto Crown Jr. did, what Jacob Miller's doing right now, if he could get up there and contend for the win here tonight.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he is absolutely driving his way. This takes nothing away from Roberto Crown Jr.'s win, though, because that was an absolute beauty of a strategy play by that team as a whole. But this right here is just, this is sure will and just fire and absolute grit underneath this hood of this car and the driver wanting to impress everyone. And Joe, I think he's honestly doing it because he's about to make a move on Luke Rainey here pretty soon.
Yeah, he sees 6th place right in front of him. That is a Robert Yates racing car he's trying to go after. One of their cars is inside the top 10 in points. Jacob Miller impressing, and if there are some major teams that still have spots open for next season, maybe this is a driver they could look at, because Miller, even earlier this season, has put that 57 car into some good spots. Like at Atlanta, he led a lap.
Yeah, definitely, and he is all over the back of Rainey here. You know, Rainey's doing everything he can to hold off. Speaking of holding off, Joe, this 12 is holding off every team that's come at him so far. RCR, Roush, JGR, DEI. Who's left on the table?
Yeah, not many. We'll see if Atkins can try and find a way to him, but we also have to keep into account they came into pit road around lap number 20. So if this race stays green, within the next 5 laps, the fuel window will open and start for these drivers to come down the pit lane and make it to where they're going to have to maybe stretch it on fuel. We'll have to see how long these drivers can go until their next pit stop, but they could definitely possibly make it on just one more pit stop if they have the fuel mileage to do it.
Yeah, Atkins does not look like he's having a nice car right now. I can't tell if he's getting tight or if it's just not carrying the speed through the corners because Stout's all over him, but the checkup by Atkins is going to put him top of 3? Not quite.
Well, luckily, I think Jericho maybe backed out of that, realizing that it maybe wouldn't have been the smartest situation, but now that moves Jordan Stout up to 2nd place. Jericho now moving. Remember, these are the 2 highest drivers battling for that $1 million bonus if they can win this race. But also for these drivers battling at the front tray, they're trying to make it so that you want to finish inside the top 5 because then you're eligible for the next $1 million bonus at the next race.
True. I mean, these are the top 2, and they're definitely battling out. Speaking of that, where are the other 3 at?
Yeah, that's a great question. As these 2 are bound for 2nd and 3rd place, where is Rando? Where'd the RCR guys go? Right. Well, we're about to see
Rando started at the back, right?
Yeah, Rando had to restart the back. He's moved up nicely to 16th. Evans is in 19th, but Kukulon not having the night. He's wanting back in 21st.
That is strange when he started out battling for the lead here before the caution came out, and clearly whatever adjustments they made on pit road has upset that car majorly. So hopefully, if we come back down during green flag pit stops, they can figure something out and he can salvage something out of this.
Well, if you notice, there's no 88 car in front of the number 57 because Jacob Miller disposed of Luke Rennie, who's still on the drop back. He's fallen all the way back to 10th place. Miller up to 6th. Battle for 2nd again. Jordan Stout and Kurt. Too bad these battles for 2nd all throughout this race have not been for the lead because we'd have about 1 million lead changes at this point.
Again, you know who's liking all these battles?
It is now Mitchell Collins out in front liking them. There comes Eli Bright for 2nd place.
Oh, Justin tried to fit it underneath it. Joe!
What? Jacob Miller had to hit the brakes, I think, because he was coming up too fast under those guys. He's going for a top 5 now.
Oh my! He's gonna get 4th here pretty soon.
Yeah, up to 5th. Now there's 4th. Jordan Stout to his outside, and he's gonna say goodbye to both those drivers.
Joe, would it be strange to say that he's probably got the fastest car out there right now?
Yeah, you know what? You're saying what team is left to throw at Penske's Mitchell Collins? It's CLR Racing.
Would that have been in your list of teams at the beginning of this race?
I think it would have been the lowest.
I don't understand how they're doing this right now.
Oh, no,
it is amazing to watch. Now, this is going to be the hardest test for this 57 right now because these have these have been the strongest guys ever since. The 12's been leading pretty much, 2 laps after the restart. Eli Brights hasn't gotten lower than, I don't think, maybe 5th. And then Justin's been in and out of the top 5, which is a really good run for him, but Joe, he's catching up to the back of him. Now, the real question is he going to be able to make any moves on them?
I think the big thing we have to look out for CLR Racing is that they are an underfunded team, so they don't have the pit crew that some of these bigger teams have. So when we come into pit road, can they try and put out a good enough pit stop? And in fact, they might be undercutting right here to try and make it work. They're going to undercut.
That might be a smart move. Oh, Jericho's going to come with them. A lot of people are going to come with them.
Look at Haas was in last lap in the 77. All right.
We'll have to see how that's going to end up playing out for them as this lead has closed in real quickly between these top 3. And You can see how far back fourth place is now. Stout. Are they going to come in this time around, though?
You almost have to, right? A lap after some of the drivers inside the top 5, Miller and Jericho came in. You almost have to. Maybe some drivers further back will stay out, hope for a caution flag. But so far, everyone is making that left-hand turn off of 4 into the pit lane.
So we'll have to see. Was that I'm assuming Keegan and
they came in a lap sooner, but the 18 crew did well, but the 57 did well enough to stay with them, and they're going to be side by side leaving pit road. It's going to be Jericho ahead of Miller, but the 57 crew kept him in it.
I honestly think Miller kind of let him go on that one, as Jericho is absolutely riding that white line. He wants to be careful to not enter the pit lane too soon, but he didn't let Jericho get too far away from him.
No, he just kind of lifted. He said it's foolish to race side by side off pit road. So let me just kind of lift, right, and see where we fall in. They're going to still be near the front of the field after it's all said and done. There's Collins and Eli Bright leaving.
But we'll have to see how close they can get to this 12 car where, Joe, this might be it. He's right there. Yeah. How close is he going to get, though, with the 12 having to get up to speed?
So Jericho and Miller up to speed. They have their tires up to temp. Eli Bright and Collins trying to get up to speed with colder race tires. Jericho might have to go around the outside of Eli Bright, who's still not up to full song. We'll see what Jericho can do. Does he do a switcheroo off 4? You betcha he does. To the inside for second place.
That was a very, very nicely done by Jericho there, and the 57 is not far behind either, Joe.
So right now it's a 4-car race for the lead. It's Mitchell Collins, Chris Jericho, Jacob Miller, and Eli Bright. Jericho for the lead. What a run off turn number 2. He's down to the inside, Mitchell Collins, and the number 18 moves out in front. He's into the $1 million spot at the moment.
I was going to say, you got to think that 12's still warming up his tires here as well. I mean, look, 7.
The 57 of Jacob Miller trying to get to second place. Eli Bright pushing him to the inside. 5th place is Jordan Stout. He's 2 seconds back. Our points there, Keyshawn Richardson is 6th. He's 3 seconds back. Trey, if there's no more yellows, the odds are this stays as a race between these front runners.
It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out, as Eli pushed him long enough, and he wants to make his move to the inside now and go challenge that 18. And if I'm Miller right now, honestly, you have to agree, he had a great long-run car. Oh, actually, you know what? He decided he wanted to swap back.
Crossover move for second place for Jacob Miller and Eli Bright down to turn number 1. 25 laps to go at the line. It's been a great World 600, and now Chris Jericho leads it in the number 18. Miller back up to second. Collins for third. Eli Bright dropped back to 4th, and this battling for second place. Trey, Jordan Stout is closing in, trying to make it a 5-car race and trying to make it a race for that $1 million bonus possibly.
Joe, this could get very, very spicy here soon within these closing laps.
Now Miller trying to run down Chris Jericho. Collins clears Eli Bright, so now these front 4 are single file, but Jordan Stout is closing in, and he might have a sniff of the draft. Back here, battle for 6th. Keyshawn Richardson has it. Conrad Evans, who's 2nd in points. Trey, he needs to pass him to gain points because they're already over a race back. Evans needs to dispose of this 99 car.
Well, we know how Evans races, so I don't think it's going to be very
might wreck him.
Clean.
Might be a bump up.
As long as he doesn't wreck him, I think it'll be okay.
Let's see into turn 1. He's looking low again. Richardson trying to run the middle lane, just get the run off, and he's doing a great job of that. Now Miller got really slow through 1 and 2. He loses 3 spots as Collins, Eli Bright, and Jordan Stout move around. Miller back to 5th, but still in it to win it if this race stays under the green flag. Jericho still leads in the number 18. Battle for 3rd. Stout is in it. He's up to 3rd place by Eli Bright.
Is he going to be able to carry this momentum past the 12 here, exiting 2? He's going to get to behind him there, but not quite close enough to make a move, as Miller is back to the bottom of Eli now.
And now
Stout goes on the 12.
Yeah, he's going for second place. So, Trey, not only could this be a great battle for the win between Jericho and Stout, but it could be a great battle for the Noble 5 prize, first ever one to win it. We'll have to see if one of these two can win this race, as it's Stout and Chris Jericho, now 1st and 2nd, both of which are in that chance to win the $1 million bonus.
We just got to hope that their cars are good enough on the long run that they're able to hold out here, and that they don't run out of fuel, as we're coming up on the lap car, the 83 of Edwards, who was the reason for our first caution earlier tonight. So we'll have to see how much that really affected that car and how well these guys can get around.
Well, Jordan Stout, I think, has the fastest car on this racetrack. He is gunning on Jericho right up to his bumper and has a pass for turn number 1. Down to the inside, side by side. Jordan Stout, what a flyer of a run. The number 6 is out in front here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway.
What a move that was, completely cleared him there, and that's going to slow Jericho up for the 12 to possibly get there, but not quite enough speed there for the guys behind him, as this is becoming a 4-car race, really, as the 57 slowly starting to fall off.
Yeah, they've dropped Jacob Miller. I don't know if he had an issue and lost some of that speed that he had, or what it was. Maybe he burned up his tires already trying to compete with these front few who are really, really fast. They're putting out some of the fastest laps of the race right here as Jordan Stout pulling away. They have to negotiate Jordan Edwards, the lap car. I assume he'll be fine to get around because he's not terribly slow, but that could also be hard for Jordan Stout since Edwards isn't terribly slow.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of a, give and take type of situation there. As long as they don't catch him in the corner, which Stout, didn't do. That was kind of an interesting move by Edwards there. But yeah, he luckily didn't catch him in the corner, so he should be able to clear him as well as Jericho. The one that I'm going to be questioned about is that 12 and 8 behind them.
Well, they're going to move down to the inside. Edwards has done a great job so far giving the leaders the lane. He's going to give Collins the inside as well. So far, Edwards doing a great job as the lap car, but as we mentioned, he's not terribly slow, so it's going to be a little bit hard to get around. Eli Bright's trying to peek out. Collins trying to block. We're almost 3 wide through the quad oval. Eli lifts, I think, to let Collins down in line.
Sometimes I feel like these guys lose their patience whenever dealing with lap traffic.
Yeah, I can see that.
And just trying to force it through.
Well, Collins forced it through. He's up and now great battle for 5th behind them. Jacob Miller's falling back to these drivers. Tim Gary, Justin Atkins, Keyshawn Richardson, Conrad Evans, Zachary DeLello, Mathis Wells, and Luke Rainey all in that mess of cars battling for 5th on back to about 12th or so.
I was going to say, look at the line lining up behind Miller there as Gary finally gets underneath him. It's going to be followed by Justin and Richardson. So slowly but surely, this 57 is starting to fall back. But Richardson absolutely squeezed him there coming off of 2.
I think there was some slight contact as well.
I don't know what that was about.
I don't know if Richardson just got tight or what it was, but definitely could have ruined a lot of drivers' days right there, as we have at the front of the field Jordan Stout and Chris Jericho about 0.3 of a second apart. Eli Brandt 3rd trying to close in. Collins in 4th is falling off. But as we have a little bit of a lull in the action, let's look at our Advanced Auto Parts question of the week. Last week at Texas, we had asked which team has been most impressive this season, DEI, Roush, or RCR, and the fans said DEI with 57% of the vote.
That's a landslide right there, pretty much.
Yeah, that is majority right there. That is easily majority for DEI. So they're trying to impress here.
That's also another one for me.
That is another one for you. And they're trying to impress here by winning this race as Eli Bright rides in 3rd about 0.6 of a second behind Jordan Stout. But now, this week's Advanced Auto Parts question of the week, it deals with a lot of the major races of the Winston Cup Series. What is the biggest race of the season? Is it the Daytona 500, the World 600, the Southern 500, or the Firecracker 400, the night race at Daytona?
You gotta think it's the Daytona 500, right?
You would think that for sure, and I think that's the low-hanging fruit of this question. But there are also people that say the World 600 being the longest race of the season, that is it physically demands and mentally demands, so it's the most impressive race. But then some people think the Southern 500 with how unique Darlington is and how hard of a track that is to drive, that could be as well. And then some people just like nighttime racing at a super speedway like Daytona.
I think we have to say the Daytona 500 because we've had guys before in the past win it once, right? And that's really the only thing they've ever kind of done in their career, but yet they're still known for winning the Daytona 500, the pinnacle of motorsports, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna have to put my initial next to Daytona 500 just for what it really does for a driver. You win that race one time, you know how many sponsors are coming towards you?
A lot, probably. I assume you're on every show in America at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna have to put my vote next to the Daytona 500.
All right. Well, we'll see what the fans think.
What would you say, Joe? What would you say? Let's get your opinion on this one.
I would have to say the Daytona 500 as well, just because it has the biggest purse in NASCAR, and it's the first race of the season. It kicks off, and when we go to Daytona, we basically make a week of it, right? We have all these practices, we have qualifying, we have the duels, we have a lot of stuff that leads up to the 500, making it more of an event rather than just a race.
Also, the atmosphere during the Daytona 500 week, you have to agree, it's totally different than compared to any other week we have during the season.
You can't compare it to anything. Even though the atmosphere here has been incredible. Look at the packed stands on the backstretch, and that's only the backstretch. Wait until we get around to the front stretch. But the atmosphere is great here, but as you mentioned, the 500 takes up a notch. Look at all the fans here, but then multiply it to get the amount of fans of the 500.
You ever go into the infield during the 500 weekend and you see the You ever see the parties that go on in there?
Oh, it's crazy.
I've spent a few weekends in the parties there. Even when I was a driver, partying with the fans. It's a very interesting experience. You got to do it sometime.
Well, you know what's not a party right now is this race for Sebastian Kukulon, who was running up at the front train. Now he is about to fall a lap down to our race leaders.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to that 29, Joe, but it died.
That's kind of been this season for that number 29. On top of the world, and then where'd he go?
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to hear from either the owner or Kukulon himself on what happened with that right now. But speaking of the leaders, Bright's all over the back of Jericho here.
Yeah, Eli Bright looks faster than Chris Jericho. He has to try and get by him so that he can maybe be the one to run down Jordan Stout. But as Stout leads with 8 laps to go, think about, as mentioned at the start of this race, only 3 Ford wins in the World 600. The last was in 1990. Who was it? Well, it was Jim Gambit. What car was he driving? The number 6 for Roush Racing.
Well, Joe, we said Ford might have a chance. We've said it during the race with Mitchell Collins out front. We said it during the race with another Roush driver out front. At the moment, we have the Stout out front, and who's been through ups and downs this season, I guess you can say.
Yeah, Jordan Stout has had a roller coaster of a season. After winning at Homestead, it looked like his season got turned around. He moved up greatly in points. He was just outside the top 10, but then he learned the news that he failed post-race inspection and didn't get to keep the points with his win, so he dropped all the way down outside the top 20 again, had to fight his way back up, and he's still in the process of clawing his way back up, but a win here tonight would be a great boost in terms of the points. Jericho's still holding off Eli Bright for a second for now, because remember, Jericho's still in it to win it for that $1 million bonus, but time is a-ticking for that to happen. We only have 6 laps to go.
Oh.
Eli Bright looking again, but Jericho has the better run through the middle of 1 and 2 to make it work. Behind them in 4th, it's Justin Atkins, a good run for him. 5th is Mathis Wells, a good recovery for him. Tim Gary's up to 6th. Evans now to 7th by Mitchell Collins, who's back in 8th. Richardson, the points there, is 9th and starting to fall off as DeLello in 10th tries to gain. Luke Rennie is 11th. Then you have back here 12th to Keegan Thompson, 13th to Hernandez. Burnett is 14th. And then back here, Jacob Miller still falling away as Nolan Lawrence right on his bumper as we have 5 laps to go in the World 600.
Now, this is really going to come down to whether or not Eli Bright can get past Jericho or not, because really, Jericho hasn't gained much time on the 6 whatsoever at all. I don't think it's closed in if anything at all. And we've said Bright looks a lot faster than Jericho. So again, if this 8 can get around the 18, what does that mean for Stout?
And it's really shocking that Jericho hasn't been able to mount a charge, because he looked very, very fast once we started out this run, but once the tires kind of equalized, that number 6 car rose to the occasion. The number 18 has really kind of fallen off here, and back there, battle for 4th place is ongoing with Atkins having it, but Mathis Wells wants to put 2 of the Joe Gibbs cars inside the top 4, but Atkins trying to keep an RCR inside the top 4.
Definitely doing the best, and at this point, I think you can say he's been the strongest RCR car all night here, and this time around, the distance between the 6 and the 18 has literally stayed the same the past 2 laps.
And Eli Bright is all over Chris Jericho. Imagine if he could have found a way around him sooner, where he would be up onto that number 6. Now Stout has lap traffic ahead. Will he catch Colin Teague before the end of this race? The 49 got passed by both the 29 and the 45 the last few laps. He looks slower. If Stout catches him, will Teague hold him up in these final 2 laps?
Question is, does Eli Bright ever make a move in this tri-oval here? It's going to be the time to do it. He needs to do it now. It does not seem like he can do it, as Stout actually gained a little bit of time on Jericho there, and I don't think there's going to be enough time for him to catch that lap car. Actually, he might, but it's going to be on the last lap near the last corner as Eli's taking a peek on Jericho going into 3.
Wells moved to 4th around Justin Atkins through 1 and 2. Eli Bright cannot get by Jericho. As we're coming to see the white flag, Jordan Stout's lap traffic in front one last time around the Lowe's Motor Speedway. This race last season had 6 caution flags. Tonight just 1. And it's coming down to the end with Jordan Stout in control of this one. Lap traffic of Teague, he has to negotiate, but he can also just ride behind him because those drivers are not close enough. Albert also still in the 41 ahead. Down the back straightaway for Jordan Stout to the inside of the lap car, the 49 of Colin Teague. Through turns 3 and 4, not only is it going to be a crown jewel win in the World 600, it's going to be a big payday for Jordan Stout, Winston Noble 5 winner here at Lowe's. Oh,
Now, Joe, I got it. Oh, well, that was a close finish for 4th.
I cannot call that one. I don't know if you can, but I couldn't.
We'll leave it to NASCAR. Anyways, So, Joe, I gotta say this since the last time it happened, the last time he won a race. If he doesn't pass inspection, does he keep the million?
Well, considering they didn't take his money last time,
Yes.
I assume he does. I don't know. We'll have to check with NASCAR on that one, see if we
All
can
right, fair enough.
hear about.
But
things. Hopefully we don't.
what-
We won't ask them until if he fails inspection. Let's hope
Yeah,
he
that's fair.
doesn't,
That's fair. That's fair. But what a performance here by Stout. Once he got out front, Joe, he did not look back.
No, he did not. He kept that gap consistent. In fact, opened it up in the last few laps. And Jordan Stout is a World 600 winner. What a race it was for him. Because remember, he was the lowest starting Roush car here tonight, Trey. He was the only car to start outside the top 20 for Roush Racing. But Trey, he was the one that ended up on top at the end.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, maybe that's just kind of telling you that these guys were basing it more on race pace than it was qualifying pace, and it paid out in the end for them there. And yeah, I mean, what a run for him! And really, I mean, Roush did a nice job altogether during this race.
Well, as we take a look at the finish results from the World 600 here at the Lowe Motor Speedway, Jordan Stout ends up on top of that number 6 car, and a dominant end of the race for him as he pulled away from Chris Jericho, pulled away by a half a second to get victory over Jericho. Eli Bright ends up in third. Those were the only 3 cars in it with a shot at the end of this one. Just Atkins, he narrowly edged Mathis Wells for 4th right at the checkered flag, and Wells left to sell for a top 5 here tonight. Conrad Evans will gain slight points on Keyshawn Richardson. Evans with a 6th place finish. Tim Gary in 7th separates Evans from Richardson, who ends up in 8th, so another top 10 solid result for Keyshawn Richardson. 9th place goes to Zachary DeLello, so that puts 3 of the Roush cars inside the top 10 once again, and Luke Rainey with a solid top 10 for the 2nd straight week here at the Lowe Motor Speedway. And we also want to talk about how at the next Winston Noble 5 race at Daytona for the Firecracker 400. The 5 drivers to compete for that one are going to be the 6 of Jordan Stout, the 18 of Chris Jericho, the 8 of Eli Bright, the 30 of Justin Atkins, and the 20 of Mathis Wells. So those 5 drivers will probably be excited, and Jordan Stout definitely very excited after winning this one here tonight. Mitchell Collins, who led a lot of this race before pit stops, has to sell for 11th place. He battled up towards the end of the race. Keegan Thompson ends up in 12th here tonight. Not the best of nights, but a very solid night for that number 5 team, as Hendrick did not have the race pace at all. In fact, all their cars finished from 12th to 20th. As behind Thompson, lowest of the Roush cars, Matthew Burnett in 13th. Hernandez gets 14th, and 15th place goes to number 19 of Nolan Lawrence. Jay Randall had to battle back from a bad pit stop under the first caution. 16th for him. 17th to Jacob Miller. It's not going to show, though, the performance he put on here tonight. He was as high as 2nd at one point, but the car faded at the end. But still, a top 20 for that team is very, very impressive. Justin Zeidel from the back of the field gets 18th. Evan Hunter, a good recovery after falling from 2nd place down outside the top 20. He gets 19th, and Brett Sear completes Hendrick's day inside the top 20. We look down here. Sarah Kercher is at the front, leading laps early on, but she has to sell for 24th after falling back. As we look down here, some other drivers. Jack Haas made a nice recovery. He moved up to 29th after a bad starting spot. Yepes right behind him in 30th. We look down here, some of the CGR cars like Stapleton 31st. You have Logan Williams in 32nd. You have Nathan Stapleton we have Jamie Stewart Jr. in 36th. And then down here, Jason Albert had some sort of issue at the end because he was very slow. He finishes 40th, and then we saw Kukulon, one of the bigger names. Whatever happened on that 29, I don't know. 38th place for him. He'll drop down even more in points. Colin Teague a lap down, Jordan Edwards 2 laps down. That's how they finished in the World 600 here at the Lowe Motor Speedway. And we'll take a look now at the point standings leaving here. Keyshawn Richardson is still with that major points gap. It came down slightly, but Conrad Evans Trey, he only finished 2 spots in front of him. That's not enough to make any dent into that points lead.
Yeah, at this point, it's just kind of a slowly chip at it thing, and hopefully you're there by the end of the season. But, Joe, there's plenty of racing still to go within this series, and, I mean, no one really knows what's going to happen by the time we get to the end of this thing.
Yeah, we're only 14 races in. We have 18 races still to go, and the next one has shaken up the season in the past as we're going racing at the Pocono Raceway for the Pocono 400. Something different is that this season Pocono has one race as a 400 miler. It's this one, so we'll see, Trey, how that impacts the strategy, because we've been used to 500-mile races at Pocono. How is a 400-mile race at Pocono going to change things?
Oh, I can only imagine, Joe. I mean, it is called the Tricky Triangle for a reason, so just lengthening that thing is only going to make it more challenging.
Well, we'll have to see what occurs next week at the Pocono Raceway. We'll have to see who can get on top, and could it possibly be Jordan Stout carrying the momentum here from Lowe's. His second win of the season, and the first ever Winston Noble 5 winner is Jordan Stout here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. He takes the World 600. Congratulations to him and Roush Racing. For Trey Bardo, I'm Joe Rokowski. So long from the Lowe's Motor Speedway. Tune in next week to JRTV for the Pocono Raceway Pocono 400, race number 15 of the 2002 NASCAR Winston Cup Series season.